Hi, everybody. I'm John Lappy, Professor of Political Science at Plymouth State University in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and I have two special guests with me today. My cat Rosie right here, and that over there is my cat Frankie. Glad to be my special guest today. Good kitty cats. All right, bye, Rosie. All right. So we just had the presidential election last Tuesday. It took several days to count all the votes, which was not unexpected given the large number of votes that were cast by mail this year. Those do take longer to count. So it took a few more days than normal, but we now know the answer. Joe Biden has been elected president of the United States. That won't be official for some time yet. Officially, the electoral votes are officially cast in mid-December, and the Congress officially counts those votes, electoral votes, in January. It won't be official until early January, but we all know what happened. Joe Biden has won the presidential election. Fun fact, Joe Biden first ran for president back in 1988, so meaning he really began running in 87, and he finally was elected president in 2020 on his third attempt. I guess he was just biding his time. Okay, so this is the map from last Tuesday's election. There could still be a few changes to it. There's a small possibility that President Trump might still wind up victorious in Arizona. They're still counting the votes there. There's a small chance President-elect Biden could still win in North Carolina. A very small chance, but it is possible. And in Georgia, they stopped counting. They are no longer counting the votes, but it is so incredibly close in Georgia that they're going to have a recount. They're going to count the votes again just to make sure there were no mathematical errors when counting them the first time, because it is so close. A small error in the count in that state could change the outcome. Unlikely, but it is possible. It wouldn't matter even if all those states did change. Joe Biden would still have won the presidential election. To be elected president, you need to win a majority of the Electoral College votes. A majority, more than 50%. This isn't true of most elections in the United States. To be elected governor of West Virginia, for example, you do not need to win a majority of the vote. You simply need to win more votes than anybody else. Imagine that 3 candidates ran for governor of West Virginia, and one of them got 48% of the vote. The second place candidate got 47%, and a third place candidate did very badly, got only 5% of the vote. The candidate who got 48% would win because they have more votes than anybody else. They don't need a majority. They just need more than anybody else. We call that a plurality. But that's not true of the Electoral College. You need to win a majority of the Electoral College votes. But let's imagine that last Tuesday's election had gone differently, and it would only need to go slightly differently, only need to change a few thousands of ballots in these states to have this outcome. Let's imagine that President Trump had managed to capture Nevada. That's a state that Hillary Clinton won in 2016, but Donald Trump did come close to capturing this time, though it looks like Biden has hung on there. And let's imagine that President Trump managed to retain Arizona and Pennsylvania. But Joe Biden still captured Georgia. If that's the case, the map would look like this. And note the numbers, 269 to 269. A tie. Nobody has won a majority. It's a tie. Or let's imagine there was a strong third-party candidate for president. Imagine, for example, if Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, who is a Republican, he was actually an unsuccessful Republican candidate for president back in 2012, and he has been critical of President Trump the last few years. So let's imagine that Mitt Romney ran a third-party campaign and won his home state of Utah. Okay. So nobody's won a majority. Now, what happens? Well, again, the Electoral College votes are not officially cast until mid-December. That's when the Electoral College officially meets and casts their votes, mid-December. And then those votes are officially received and officially counted by Congress in early January. Well, if Congress gets together in early January and counts those votes and finds that nobody won a majority, then Congress decides who the next president and next vice president will be. Let's start with the vice president first. The Senate gets to choose the new vice president, and they get to choose among the top 3 vote earners for vice president. Since you vote for president and vice president at the same time, that essentially means they get to choose from among the running mates of the 3 candidates who got the most Electoral College votes. So if we had a tie between Joe Biden and Donald Trump for president, the Senate would get to choose between Kamala Harris, Biden's running mate, and Mike Pence, Trump's running mate. If there was a third-party candidate who won electoral votes, the Senate would also have the option of choosing that person. And this is actually a very simple process. Each senator gets 1 vote. They vote for whichever one of these candidates they think should be vice president, and whoever wins a majority of senators is elected vice president. If nobody wins a majority the first time the Senate votes, they just vote again and again and again and again until eventually a candidate wins the majority. Okay, that part's simple. The House has the job of choosing the president. Like the Senate, they get to choose among the top 3 vote earners in the Electoral College. Now, if we had our hypothetical scenario of a 269 to 269 tie between Biden and Trump, that would mean the House could choose Biden or Trump. If we go with our hypothetical scenario where Mitt Romney ran a third-party campaign and won electoral votes, then the House could choose between Biden, Trump, and Romney. They could choose any one of those 3 to be the next president. Okay, so the House chooses the president, but there's a complication. It's not like the Senate, where you just need to win a majority of senators. In the House, to be elected president, you need to win a majority of state delegations, and each state gets only 1 vote. For example, let's assume that there was a 269-269 tie between Biden and Trump. Okay, so West Virginia, they have 3 members of the U.S. House. They get together. They're all Republicans. So presumably, they would all vote for Donald Trump. And if West Virginia's House vote is 3 votes for Trump, 0 for Biden, then Donald Trump wins West Virginia's 1 vote. And then if you look at California, which has, okay, good boy, Frankie. If you look at California, which has 53 members of the House, 46 Democrats, 7 Republicans, we would assume 46 of them would vote for Biden, 7 would vote for Trump. And if that's the case, 46 for Biden, 7 for Trump among California members of the House, then Biden would win California's 1 vote. Just 1 vote. So it's not about, it would come down not to which political party controlled the House, but which political party controlled the most House delegations. For example, right now, the Democrats have a majority of the U.S. House. A majority of House members are Democrats. But if there were an election like this, where the election had to get decided by the House, voting by state delegation, the Republicans actually control more state delegations. So even though if there was a tie that did go to the House would probably choose Trump to be president, even though a majority of its members are Democrats, because the Republicans control the majority of state delegations. This, by the way, is the only vote in the U.S. House that actually works this way. This is the only time where House members vote by state delegation and states get 1 vote. The rest of the time, each House member gets 1 vote. That's for literally everything else that goes in front of the U.S. House, except if they decide who the president is, because nobody won a majority of the Electoral College. How often has this happened? This happened twice in presidential elections, 1800 and 1824. 1800 is not really worth talking about because the Electoral College worked way differently back in 1800. 1824 was more or less run under modern rules, that election. And what happens in that election was there was actually 4 candidates for president who won Electoral College votes, 4 different candidates. The House chose to elect John Quincy Adams as president, even though Adams actually finished second in the nationwide popular vote, and Adams actually had fewer electoral votes than the first place candidate, Andrew Jackson. John Quincy Adams nonetheless was chosen by the House to be the next president. However, Adams was stuck for the next 4 years, having a vice president, John C. Calhoun, who was actually Andrew Jackson's running mate, because again, the vice president is chosen by the Senate. All right, so that's what would happen if nobody won a majority of the Electoral College.